Thanks, Emma, and hello to everyone. It's really exciting to be here, and I hope that the session is really useful to you. So, like Emma says, please, if you've got any questions as you go through, please note them down, and then we'll be happy to answer them at the end of the session. So, like Emma says, I am head of customer experience. I have been at World Challenge for nearly 18 years now, so a fair old length of time. Hopefully, that means I am able to answer any of the questions that you might have as we go through. I started off in our customer support team, so I was answering queries from parents and from students about what to pack and what they might be able to expect. And then I've had various positions throughout the years that I've been here, always related in some way to the customer. So either the students and the parents or the teachers that are going away on the trips. And I've also been on a couple of expeditions myself and been out to visit some of our in-country teams. So yeah, broad experience, and hopefully that means we're going to have a really good session today. So just to chat a little bit about what we're going to cover today, we'll talk a little bit about why the topic matters so much. Why is it so important that you're able to build trust with a school leader? We'll look at who our school leaders are and what experience that they might have. And then also talk about the role that the school leader plays whilst they're away and what it means to be a school ambassador. And then at the end, I'll go through some tips for building strong relationships with school leaders and some tips that really help you to focus on making the experience really special for the teams whilst they're away. And like we've said, hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end. So why is it important that we build those strong relationships with the school leaders? Well, World Challenge trips focus on student development and leadership and inspiring students to become global citizens. So it's natural that our main focus is on the student experience, but the school leaders travelling with them play a really crucial role in every single trip. And creating a positive experience for them allows the school leaders, to focus on their students whilst also feeling really supported, and that really is vital to the success of the trip. So if you're able to build trust with teachers, with our school leaders, it means that it will be a much smoother and more enjoyable experience for absolutely everyone involved, and that includes you. It means that the impact on students is greater and they'll be able to learn and engage more effectively. And it also means that we increase the likelihood of being able to build long-term relationships with both our schools and our initiative partners. And we receive better feedback, and our school leaders are more likely to recommend their experience and their experience at the initiative they visited to other teachers. And that, helps build our success. So it is really crucial that we focus on a school leader's experience as well as the students. Now, school leaders come in all different shapes and sizes. So typically, each trip has two school leaders. Sometimes there's one school leader, sometimes there's three, but typically there's two school leaders. And like I say, they can be very different for a number of reasons. So the school leaders are very often members of teaching staff at the school, but they might be support staff. So they might be a fundraising manager at the school. They might not actually be teaching any of the students on a day-to-day basis. If they're teachers, they might have different levels of experience. Even between the two that you have on the trip, it might be quite different. So there might be a teacher that is just out of university, is actually very new to teaching. They might be in their first year of teaching, and that means they have less experience. Or they might have been a teacher for years and years and years. They could have been teaching for 40 years. And of course, that changes their experience and the way that they're able to interact with students and the knowledge that they've got of how to run World Challenge trips. They might have very different travel experience. So they might be as new to travel as some of the students are, or they might be very experienced travellers who know exactly what to expect when they visit a different destination. They might have done far more travel than we could ever dream of doing. So their experience of travelling and what it's like to be in a different destination might vary. They might also have different World Challenge experience. So they might have worked with World Challenge many, many times before. They, could have done 10, 15 trips and know exactly what to expect, be really clear on how our trips work and what it feels like to visit an initiative and what that looks like and the tasks that students typically get involved in. Or for some teachers, they might not ever have been on a World Challenge trip before. They might have had to replace a school leader at the last minute. So they might have only known that they were going on the trip for just a few days. And so again, that means that the way they show up, the way that they present, might be quite different. They might not be as prepared for the experience they're about to have. And they might also have very different relationships with the students. So they might be teachers that are well respected in the school. They might have been able to build up a rapport with the students over many, many months, from the point that the students signed up, which might be 18 months ago. They might teach many of the students. They might see them many times a week, or they might not teach them at all. So they may start the trip and actually have to go through that process of learning the students' names and getting to know the students. So the school leaders can all look very different. Their experience is different to one another. And ultimately, all of those factors influence how they're able to engage and gel as a team with their students, with their World Challenge trip leader, and also with our partners, with all of you. So it has an impact on how well prepared they are for their experience that they're about to have. So that's a little bit about our school leaders. In terms of their role on a trip, there are a number of things that they have to think about. So first and foremost, they are a school ambassador. They are there to represent the school and the senior management team at the school and make sure that everything is going to plan from a school trip point of view. They're also there for incident support. So if things don't go quite to plan, they're there to assist the World Challenge leader in managing anything that might not be working out as we would expect it to be. They're there for the student well-being, so they're there to make sure that they're providing the physical care and the emotional support for the students who are obviously miles and miles away from home. They're not with their parents, and so that takes a lot of extra effort. For some of the students, it might be the first time that they've travelled without their families and their parents, and so the teachers are there to provide that pastoral support for the students. And that extends to student supervision. So they may need to chaperone the students. For example, if there's a student that needs to visit a medical facility, it is normally the school leader that goes with them to provide that support to the student. So lots of areas where they have to feed into the well-being of the students. And of course, they also have to manage the behaviour of the students. So they take primary responsibility for addressing any of the issues that might come up if the students aren't behaving as we would expect them to. And sometimes that can involve talking to the school back at home and thinking about the consequences of actions that students might be partaking in if they're not behaving in the way that we would expect them to. So lots of different elements there. I think the most important area to focus in on is that point around they're a school ambassador, and that comes with a whole lot of pressure. So I just want to speak into that just a little bit more, just to provide a few more examples. So first of all, the school leader can feel really responsible for meeting the student expectations. The initiative is often a really key part of the trip that the team and the school leaders focus on prior to the trip departing. And school leaders know how much the initiative experience means to the students. And so by default, there's a lot of pressure on that experience going well. The school leaders are really hyper focused on the experience being really smooth and being a standout experience. And that's for a number of reasons. So time with a community at an initiative is not something that students would normally necessarily experience when they go on holiday with their families. And so it's something really different that they can get excited about before they go. And the students often talk about the initiative when they're earning their trip fee. It's a good way of explaining what they're going off to do to other people that might be supporting them, and buying things at bake sales and all the different things that students do to earn their money for the trip. It's often also the section of the trip that students are least nervous about. So our students tend to really focus on the trekking phase if they have a trekking phase in their trip, and that can feel quite stressful because they're not sure what to expect. They're worried about carrying their backpacks for many days on end, or they're worried about their fitness levels. And so they place a lot of emphasis on the initiative being a part of the trip that they can get just really excited about, rather than being excited but also a bit nervous about it. And those factors lead to an excitement around the whole experience of the initiative. It really focuses on the experience that they feel that they're going to have, and I think the school leader can really feel the weight of that responsibility. So there's a lot of pressure on the initiative to go well. The school leader, as a school ambassador, is also really responsible for student development. So there are often key learning goals that need to be met. And with that, there are expectations from the school and from the students' families. And so again, the school leader is thinking about that and their responsibility to make sure that the students are able to use the opportunity to develop. And again, that puts a bit of pressure onto the situation. Like I said, the school leader has to uphold school policies because they are focused on the behaviour of the students. So there's all sorts there that they might be thinking about in terms of behaviour or sleeping arrangements, or whether the students are spending too much time on their mobile phones. And there will often be policies around those areas that the school are having to think about and make sure are upheld. And then lastly, the school leader has to take responsibility for the student behaviour and the well-being of the students. And that covers things like making sure all of the students are behaving, the pastoral care, as I spoke about. And again, they will have to answer to the head teacher or the principal of the school and the families when they get back from the trip. So all of those different factors lead to quite a lot of pressure for the school leaders. So now that we understand who our school leaders are, and I've given a bit of an idea about what their responsibilities are, it's easy to see how, just like our students, school leaders can really be pushed outside of their comfort zone when they're having a World Challenge trip. So some of the things that the school leaders might be struggling with or worried about include, they might be in a new role and they're building new relationships, so they don't necessarily know the students that are there. Might be the first time that they have travelled on a school trip like this. They've got all of those responsibilities that I've just spoken about that they're trying to think of to make sure that they're able to do their job and fulfil their role. The trip might actually be quite a challenge for them physically, so the school leaders might also be really worried about the trek that they're going on and their fitness levels. They might be worried about the climate because it's often much hotter than they are used to, and that of course brings about its own challenges. they, like the students, might also be experiencing foods for the first time and trying to take in all of those cultural differences that are there when they visit a different country. So all of that is quite a lot of is quite a lot mentally to process. Um, there is perhaps a lack of personal space on a trip for school leaders. So they are taking care of those students 24 hours a day for the duration of that trip. And very often that means that they don't get that much time to themselves because there's always a student with a question or something that needs doing. And so it's very hard for them to get their own time to rest or make sure that they're prepared for the next day. And that can start to take a bit of a toll. And there's also a lack of control and structure. So teachers are very used to having the students in one room, teaching their lesson for 50 minutes, and then that's it. That's their job done. They know exactly what they're doing, and they have planned all of that and thought about the things that might go wrong and how to resolve that. And when they're on a trip, they're not in that normal environment and they're experiencing things at the same time as the students. So they don't have the same level of control as they would do in the classroom. Now, all of those worries can be sat there in a school leader, but obviously the school leader is an adult. They are better able to manage their emotions and they're unlikely to tell you that that's how they're feeling because they feel like they should have everything under control. You might be able to sense that they're a bit uncomfortable. You might be able to just tell by a look in their eyes, or their body language might be presenting where they look quite stressed and tense. You know, they might have their shoulders up and be looking quite tense. But most likely, if they are worried about things or you know, feeling like they have got a lot to think about, then it's likely to present as stress, and that might impact how they interact with you. So they might not have as much patience, for instance. They might be really tired. They might not be as chatty. So a couple of examples there that hopefully help to explain why a teacher might not be coming across in the way that you're expecting them to. They've got a lot of things that they're trying to think about, and they're also trying to stay in control of all of that and let that not come through. So, what can you do as initiative partners to help with all of that? Well, being organised and thoughtful and proactive offers respite for school leaders, and with that, you'll quickly gain their trust and support. So, there are lots of parts of a World Challenge trip where actually the school leader doesn't have an opportunity to rest. But if you, as initiative partners, are able to be organised and thoughtful and proactive, the initiative experience can be really extraordinary, not just for the students, but for the teachers too, because they're able to relax into it. So we're going to take each of those key areas around organisation, thoughtfulness, and proactiveness, and just think about a few useful tips for each of those areas that you can use when you've got teams in country. So the first one is around being organised. So teachers are responsible for their students' well-being 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for as long as they've got the trip going on. So having a well-structured initiative reassures the teacher and it allows them to focus on the experience. So teachers will trust you more when they see that you're prepared, and that helps them to relax and take a step back and focus on the experience that the students are having. So a few different ideas to make sure that you're able to demonstrate that you're organised. First of all, it's about being ready for the team. So be ready for them to arrive, be ready to welcome the team, and make sure you know where they have come from. So they might have had a really long drive. They might have been in a minibus for 10 hours, and that can be quite tiring for them. the team might have just finished their trek, so they might have been trekking for 7 days and be quite tired. So think about what the team and the school leaders might need when they arrive. And little top tip for this area is to make sure that you're in touch with the driver of the transport that the team are arriving on, so you know what time the team will be arriving and you can be there ready and waiting for them to arrive. And that's something that you'd be able to discuss with Emma in your pre-season briefing when you speak to her. The next one is about knowing your roles and making sure that you introduce everybody. So make sure that the teachers, the school leaders are introduced to the key people in your organisation and that they know who they'll be working with across the days of the initiative. And our teachers are just like anybody else. They really like that personal connection. They like to hear about people and know about people's background. So please do feel free and make an effort to share the stories of the people that are working with them so that the teachers can feel like they're able to really build that personal connection. You know, they really want to hear about someone's life and the circumstances that have led them to where they are and why they're a part of the community that you're in or that you're working with. And then the last one in this area is around establishing clear goals and structure. So it's really important to communicate the mission of the initiative really clearly and transparently. So communicate a clear plan and set the expectations nice and early. We like to avoid busy work to ensure that the experience is really meaningful. So it's perhaps not as meaningful to be doing things like painting a mural or building some steps that don't go anywhere. So we want everything that the team is doing to have a real meaning so that the team are able to see what impact they're having. And having multiple activities that students are able to rotate around helps to provide that structure and keeps everybody engaged. It's also an idea to find out who the student leaders are and help them to take the lead throughout the time. So you might want to speak to the students that are the leaders of the initiative for the day and talk to them about the instructions and the different activities that the team are going to be doing. And it can also be helpful to create a bit of a timetable of activities and break times and put that up on a board or write it on something so that everybody is able to see what time the break is and it feels really nice and organized. And that means that everybody is really clear on what's going to happen throughout the day. And that means that the school leaders are then able to relax because they're not thinking, how long is this activity going to last? When are the students going to be able to have a break and have a snack and that kind of thing? So those are the points under be organised. Next, we're going to look at proactiveness, and that's really about staying one step ahead. And that's important because the teachers are juggling a lot. And so anticipating the needs of the team and of the teachers before they actually come up shows that you're really in control and you're committed to making their experience really stress-free. Being proactive removes any of that unnecessary stress for teachers and makes them feel like their students are in safe hands. And again, that helps them to relax and means that they're able to take a step back and enjoy the experience rather than worrying about what's going to happen next and whether their students are having a good time. So, a few tips in this area. First one is around preparing for changes. So really important to make sure that you've got some backup plans. There might be bad weather, or the team might have an unexpected delay, or there might be a shift in the group's energy levels, and that can be both ways actually. So sometimes teams arrive at an initiative and they want to throw absolutely everything they've got at the experience. They want to be doing things from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed, and that can sometimes be a bit unexpected, particularly if you've experienced a group where they've just got off their trek, they're really tired, they haven't slept properly for a few days. So there might be differences in the energy levels of the different groups that you have coming through. And also really important to ensure that teachers feel really included in the activities that you've got going on, not just the students. The next one is around checking in regularly. So just asking them a really quick and simple question, how is everything going? Or is there anything that I can do to help? Can make a really big difference to how a teacher is feeling. But the important thing here is if something isn't going to plan, try and think of a solution that you can suggest to the teachers before they're saying to you, this is a problem and I need you to sort it out. So if you can predict something that's going to happen or that you're concerned might not feel right to the school leader, please talk about it, check in with them and see how they're feeling about it. And that stops things becoming a bigger issue. Teachers are obviously trying to supervise all of their students, and particularly if they've got a big team, they might have 18 students that are there. They really appreciate having that second pair of eyes. So please offer support with supervision. And if you can step in to help guide students where needed, especially where it comes to a safety issue. So if you can see that something's about to happen where a student might get hurt, please don't be afraid to say that and step in and support the teacher in that way. Lead transitions smoothly. So this is about making sure that people are prepared and they know what's coming up. So if you can give a 5-minute warning before the end of an activity or before you're starting a new activity and explain what's about to happen, it means that everybody is feeling informed. And it's really important to make sure that you're doing that with the teachers as well as the students. But I would just say, please don't overload them with details. So they want to enjoy the experience as well, and you don't need to give them every single piece of information for the next 5 days all in one go. So it's good to drip feed that information in, but with enough time for them to feel like they're prepared and they know what's coming next. And then lastly, identify needs before a teacher is asking. So um, as an example, a student might be looking a bit unwell or a teacher might seem tired. So really nice top tip there is to make sure that you've identified a space ahead of time where students and teachers are able to take a break if they need one. And then if you spot someone that looks like they need a bit of a rest or they're not very well, you're able to move them into that space straight away without having to organise where they're going to go. And that just makes it feel really seamless for the teacher, and again makes it feel like you're really in control, you're staying one step ahead, and that's a really good demonstration of being proactive. Last area then is around being thoughtful, and for us that means thinking about the really small actions that you can take that help to really set the experience out. So a little extra kindness goes a really long way, and thoughtful gestures help teachers feel much more valued, and it makes their experience that much more enjoyable. And teachers who feel really supported and appreciated are again more likely to relax and engage and recommend your initiative to future groups. So it's a really important one, but it is just small actions that we're talking about here. So the first one is really around paying attention to what the teacher is like and the way that they're engaging with their students and with the activities. So some teachers like to be really involved. They want to get involved in everything. They count themselves as one of the team, whereas others might be a bit quieter. They might want to stand back and not get as involved in the team's activities. They might just want to observe. So please respect that choice and make adjustments accordingly. And if you feel like you're struggling to understand what the teacher likes and whether they're involved or not involved, then please just chat to the World Challenge leader if you want to better understand the teachers, because they will more than likely have spent a considerable amount of time with the teacher by that point. So they'll be able to explain to you what the teacher is like and what their style is like. Sleep is something that is so important on a trip, and definitely to the teachers. So if you can create a space for teachers to step back and enjoy the moment, then that really helps. So if you can, make sure that the teachers have their own rooms so that they can really focus on getting a good night's sleep. And that just makes them, much more able to be engaged with all of the different activities, and really focus on the experience that the students are having, rather than being focused on the fact that they haven't had that much sleep because they've been uncomfortable. This is probably the best top tip I feel like I can give you, but it's all about the simple comforts. So it really is as simple as offering them a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or making sure they've got a bit of a comfy seat to sit on when they're having a bit of a break, or even just a bit of reassurance that everything is running smoothly and that everything is in hand, really can make a huge difference. So if you are able to have tea and coffee available for the teachers, I know with absolute certainty that they will really appreciate that home comfort. And lastly, we really like to focus on the achievements of our teams. So please celebrate the students and the work that they're doing when they are at the initiative. So highlight the achievements that they have got through at the end of each day, and talk about the value of the experience, for both the teachers and the community and the students. And a really nice way of doing that is to think about how would you celebrate achievements within the community, and try and introduce that to the group. They really want to see that interaction that you normally have being extended to them. So those are the three areas that we really feel help you build those relationships with school leaders. So just to recap, when teachers see that you're organised and proactive and thoughtful, they'll trust you to guide their students as well, and that allows them to step back and really enjoy the experience. So make sure that you're organised and prepared. Make sure that the experience is really purposeful and impactful. It's really important to the students and the teachers that they feel like they're contributing to something, and they want to be able to see value in what they're doing. Be proactive and flexible. So I spoke at the beginning about what the teachers can be like, and they're all different. They've all got different experience, and that means that you have to be able to adapt to them in different ways. So they're not all going to be as experienced as each other, and that means that they are going to be different when they arrive at an initiative, because some of them will know what to expect and some of them won't know what to expect. So please be as proactive as you can and flexible with your arrangements. Please do what you can to go the extra mile. And like I said, it really is as simple as providing something like a tea or a coffee to the teacher, and that really is an example of going the extra mile. Facilitate meaningful connections. So our students and our teachers really want to learn from the community and the people that they're with, and it's all about sharing stories and hearing a different perspective, a different way of life that they may not have had access to before. And lastly, it's about communicating clearly and making sure that everybody is really clear on the plan and the actions for the day and what's going to happen. And if you're able to do all of that, then you build excellent trust with school leaders, and that makes for the most amazing experience, and is something that the teachers and the students don't stop talking about once they get home. And for us in the office, it's amazing to hear all of that feedback, which of course we then pass on back to you.